with Steve Mazurek. Steve, another year's upon us, another men's and women's swimming and diving season. Kind of give us a rundown, maybe first of all start with the women, and then move over to the men. Obviously both of them are defending a PSAC championship once again, but what do you have in store this year?
Well, we spent a lot of time in the beginning of the year talking about change, and there's that Heraclitus quote that we sort of turned into our own. We said nobody ever dives into the same pool twice, and we took our whole first team meeting and dissected that. And the great thing about coaching and the great thing about working in swimming is even if we have the same roster from season to season, the team is totally different. And in swimming in particular, because you've got doubles every day, so the team that you coach in the morning isn't necessarily the team that you coach at night. And that's a pretty interesting thing to wrap your head around. So rather than making that a source of stress, we spoke a lot about how that's liberating and how change is the only constant and the only inevitable. And we sort of made it our mantra to embrace that this year. We brought in new talent on both sides, and we've got some veterans on both sides coming back, informal leadership positions, and some fifth-year seniors. So it's a nice blend of experience and talent.
Certainly on the women's side, Ann Carosa comes back, and I'm sure that makes a coach happy when a national champion and national record holder is back in the pool. But kind of talk about her leadership and what she's bringing and maybe how her role has changed throughout her time here at Westchester.
Well, we've got all three of our women's team captains are back this year. So Ann Carosa's back in that position, Keely Durkin and Caitlin Hamill. All three have returned, and they've each got their own unique brand of leadership that they bring with them. Ann is a fifth-year senior, and we've got three of them on the team this year. And somebody with that much experience, there are obviously some pros to that. And there are some things that I think we have to look out for with our fifth-year seniors. They're more weathered. It can get to the point where they start thinking, we've done this before, we've been here before, and that should be an advantage. And I think with somebody like Ann, she recognizes it as an advantage. I asked her to do some things that were pretty uncomfortable the last couple of years. We said the only way to get your fly faster and your free faster was to spend some time with the distance swimmers. So she spent quite a bit of time training in a group where she didn't necessarily want to be all the time. But she committed herself to it, and it paid off. We said, you've got to be better with flutter kicking. So she went from being not the greatest flutter kicker on the team to being one of the best. That's the kind of leadership and that's the kind of experience you want your upperclassmen to be able to share with people coming in, especially the nervous freshmen who are just wrapping their heads around this whole experience. She can say, I've been there, I've done this, and some of it's going to be hard, but all of it's going to be worth it.
And how have those three captains kind of helped those young kids kind of transition from what they were doing in high school to what you are going to ask them to do over the next 4 or 5 months? Another
wonderful part of coaching is that, if you have a team of 40 swimmers, you've got a team of 40 different cultural backgrounds, different philosophical backgrounds, and different training backgrounds. So those captains make up a nice representation of those different backgrounds and coming from different programs where this was all a change to them in one way or another. So those captains have been great about sharing their experience. But I think one of the keys to leadership, and I think it's an overlooked key to leadership in all sports, is we talk about values and culture once or twice a season, and we think that gets the job done. It's an easy mistake to make the coach who goes and says, let's play laser tag and everything's going to be fun for the rest of the year. You've got to talk about culture every day. Every day. We have 3 goal meetings a year. So by the time you're through our program, you will have been through 12 goal meetings. That's 12 unique opportunities to really look at what you've done, where you're going, and figure out the best way to get there. And through those opportunities, we have some conversations, but also we know as a team and we know individually where people are going. As coaches, we have to make sure that we're facilitating those conversations every day. So we talk about culture every day. We have 5 to 6 team meetings a week, and I think sometimes they want to throw me off the pool deck, but I think other times they really value the experience. We've got a meet coming up this weekend against Ship and Southern, and the 2 biggest things that we look for as a coaching staff is, what are you saying to yourself, and what are you saying to each other? That's so much more important than how you're getting off the blocks, what's your pacing in 1,000 free. That stuff's going to come, but how are you talking to yourselves? That's the stuff we have to practice every single day. And it's really easy in any sport because you feel like you've got to get it all in. And there's a lot to get in, but it's really easy to overlook that. We've got a team out there dedicated to working on that stuff every day. And it's what makes this job so much fun.
As you head into that meet with Southern and Ship leading off the season, obviously these people aren't going to jump right in and be a PSAC contender right off the bat.
Right.
So what are some of those things that you and the coaching staff look for in this first meet? What are you expecting to see on Saturday? That's
part of that goal discussion that we have in the beginning of the year. And one of the things we talked about this year was coloring your goals with your character. If you want to be a 359, 400 IMer, you can be that person this Saturday. You might not go that time, but some of the components to that race might be there, especially the psychological component, especially some of the cornerstone habits that go into it. So the cornerstone habits are a big part of what we talk about. And that's, how are you preparing the pool before a meet? How are you preparing your body? How are you preparing your mind? How are you speaking to one another? And those are the things that we're looking for this weekend. Times are secondary. They're going to come, but we're in a part of the season where everybody's getting used to the water again. Inside, Logan's one of those guys who's coming back for a 5th year. He's going to be joined this year by 2 new captains, Joel Dunnigan and Brody Heckman. Joel, last year, we called him the silent assassin. You won't hear a word from him. At least the coaches don't hear a word from him all year unless we speak to him. And he had this way, especially early in the season in dual meets, of coming out of nowhere and surprising people from an outside lane. And Brody is just one of those guys who can be great for us in the distance group, trains with us in the sprint group. All 3 are excellent teachers. They all work with our lesson program, and I think it's part of what makes them excellent captains. Logan, is that guy who will probably throw and put his body on the line for a dual meet if it means the team's got a better chance to win. And he's also been, for us the last few years, a leader by example. So it's nice to have that blend of returning leadership and new leadership to take this guy's team on what I think is a pretty exciting path. Okay, so Logan Brockway. Logan is, I hear this from other coaches and other people sometimes, say Westchester works too hard. Why do you guys do all that work? And first of all, I think it's all pretty relative. I think we do enough work. And I think we could always work smarter and better, and that's something we try to do each year. But Logan is a person who embodies that. Logan is sort of like having a coach who's also in the water with us. So if it's, hey, we're going to do this tonight, I need you to train in the distance group to bring these swimmers along or move over to the sprint group, he's willing to move around and bring those swimmers along. He's a mentor in the water, and as close as we have to having a coach on the team who's also an athlete.
Do you think there will be any surprises on Saturday when you take on Ship and Southern, and what, maybe some of the newcomers that you're looking to shine, or maybe some kids who weren't asked to play a bigger role that are going to have to step up and play that bigger role?
I think you'll see more distance depth and more speed at the top end of distance. You're also going to see more depth with butterfly and backstroke this year as well. You'll see some IM depth added to the roster as well. On the women's side, you're going to see all 4 of the strokes, short end, improve this year, I think. We lose Callie Paff, who was our backstroker in our NCAA relays last year, and that was a big loss for us. But I think we've got some up and coming backstrokers who are ready to fill that role.